Hello, EMO. My name is Paul Lefebvre. I'm the Director of Development and Communications, and I'm here with our president, Jan Elfers. Jan, you have some big news to share with us.
I do. I announced to our board and staff last week that I will be retiring this June.
That is a big deal. Yeah, a really big deal for us as a network and sort of the EMO family. Walk us through a little bit. Would you, how long you've been around EMO, what some of your different roles have been?
I started as an intern at EMO 18 years ago.
Wow.
I had a great passion for peacemaking, and as a woman of faith, I was very interested in the role that faith communities, religions play in making peace. And this was right at the beginning of the war in Iraq. And so as I was writing my thesis, I contacted Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon to see if they might be interested in a very green intern who would like to give my energies to working on peacemaking.
And did you get paid for that internship? Was
No,
that
no,
okay.
It was part of my schooling.
Okay.
So I was getting my master's degree. And so that year started my first foray into the world of Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon. And
Where did it go from there? So intern into what role?
so I was, for several years, I was the Peace Programs Associate and did a lot of interfaith work, bringing faith communities together, which is where I began to develop deep friendships within the faith community with our friends in the Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, various communities. And then I moved into a role of membership coordinator, relationship coordinator, and did a lot of statewide trips around to introduce people to our work at Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon and to invite them to join us. And that was a really interesting and fun, I remember going to Burns and to Ashland and all sorts of Bandon and Pendleton, LeGrand, just areas throughout the state, and listening to faith leaders and hearing their concerns and their passions. That was really, really fun for me.
I'm sure that's part of what makes this big news for people watching right now, because you've met a lot of people over your years.
Developed really dear friendships with people I continue to have friendships with and relate to on a regular basis, and have just seen the richness and the diversity and the preciousness of our faith community, which is sometimes under reported, that Oregon doesn't have a vibrant faith community.
Sure.
And we really do have a vibrant and a vital community of faith.
How long have you been president of EMO?
So it will be 6 years soon that I was interim and then president. So I started several months as an interim, and then became the president. I was also public policy director in between membership
before
director.
Becoming
before,
president.
Yes, so I was also public. So
of
I got to go to Salem and see that aspect of our work, which is so important to the way that we do upstream and downstream work of changing systems, as well as going to direct community service to address suffering.
I know that's been a big part of your work as president, to
Yes.
be in Salem and
Yes.
advocating and doing
Yeah.
what you can to advocate. Yeah. A lot of years, a lot of miles traveled, a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the last year or so. It's been a very laid-back year for us as a state. No big deal.
Right. No big deal. Yeah. This time last year, we didn't really understand fully at all what we were going into. And I've said laughingly to some of my friends that the last year has felt like a dog year, 7 years, because we almost immediately as COVID hit, the needs of our communities rose exponentially. And we have such an incredible staff that rose to the challenge in ways that I am still astounded at how well they met the needs of the community. But it has definitely taken a toll. Our programs are serving so many more people than we could ever imagine, which is, on one hand, I'm so grateful that we can serve so many, and on the other hand, it's devastating that so many people are needing our services.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of grief associated.
There's grief and trauma for all of us who are encountering people daily who are very, very traumatized by the situation they find themselves in, whether it's needing food or needing housing or needing the services that we've provided, the day center and so on. So,
if you don't mind me kind of taking that to a personal level,
yeah.
I mean, what kind of impact has that had on you personally?
Yeah, we have, our employees feel like my family members. And I take my role as president very seriously in the sense of caring for them and making sure they're okay so they can then meet the needs of the communities they serve. And that has taken a toll on them, and it's taken a toll on me. It's been very spiritually, emotionally, and physically exhausting to daily interact with the suffering in our communities, and caring deeply and wanting to make it better, and sometimes knowing you really can't. You can at least make it better today.
Yeah, it's the caring deeply
Yeah.
that is the kind of the magic of someone like you
Yeah.
in your role,
Yeah.
but it's also that sort of double-edged
Yeah.
sword where it really takes a lot
Yeah.
out of you when you
Right.
care deeply.
Right.
So it's been
Yeah.
a hard season, and to lead in a season like this,
Yeah.
it has a unique kind of burden. One of the big things that we've all been working through in the last year has been the sort of re-rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, and focusing in new and fresh ways on diversity and equity and inclusion. Could you talk a little bit about your journey with that?
Yeah. I am a Richard Rohr student. I went to the Living School for Action and Contemplation. And so one of the things he said recently about 2020 was that it had been referred to by many as an apocalyptic time. And what he said about that word is that it means an unveiling. And
The word apocalyptic means?
the word apocalyptic is
Right.
really about an unveiling of what has been there. Mm-hmm. And that really resonated with me, that what the COVID pandemic revealed that has been there since the beginning is the deep inequities that exist in our communities, how disproportionately our BIPOC communities have been impacted by COVID, and how that is just a mirror of so many other areas in our world and society where those disproportionate impacts are felt. And so the Black Lives Matter movement and the impetus when George Floyd was murdered caused this uprising, thankfully, from more than just the Black and Brown and Indigenous communities, but from people all over our society who recognized the deep injustice that has been with us forever, and that it is this urgent need to change, to address it, as people of faith, to confess our complicity and to change, to say that this is unjust and we can no longer stand for this, and we must change. And so for me personally and for our organization, we realized we need to take a deep dive to look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, to see where where we need to go, how we need to change, what we need to apologize for, and how do we truly transform our organization into an anti-racist organization. And that is an ongoing long-term, that is not something you do quickly. That is something you commit yourself to for the long haul. And I believe that's the road that we have taken.
So, talk to us about how that connects to your decision to retire right now.
So, I have engaged in, actually right now I'm in 4 different groups in my own life dealing with anti-racist work. One with family members in a very personal way, looking and reflecting on my own life and my family life, as well as several groups, and one being DEI training with our staff, and a second with our board. And through prayer and reflection and really sometimes uncomfortable conversations and taking a hard look at myself, my own story, and how it interacts with the story of Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, I've really seen how an organization like ours, which has been white run since the beginning, it needs to change. It's time. And it's time for our leadership to reflect deeply on how we can make meaningful and lasting change from the foundations all the way, to every aspect of our organization. And so I felt, as I discerned and prayed about this, that it's time. It's time for me to make space for a person with different perspectives and different life experiences to step into this role and run this organization as we continue to do the deep work that is required to set the stage for that new leadership to really be successful. So.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's, having gotten to speak with you about this quite a bit before, it's an inspiration to me, and I hope to a lot of people watching right now. It's a sort of, put your money where your mouth is moment, I think it sounds like for you and for EMO as an organization. And so I'm thankful, very thankful for you and your leadership in that. I'm sure a lot of people watching are wondering, are you moving to Tahiti and just going to sip Mai Tais for the next 20 years? What are you going anywhere?
I'm not going anywhere. I love Portland. I love this state. I am more committed than ever to the work of justice and compassion and equity. And I'm really praying, I am retiring, but I am really praying as I step outside of this role, what does God have next for me? And I love working with this community. I love the relationships that I have formed over the course of almost 2 decades. And I'm really excited about the next chapter. I don't know what that will mean, but I'm certainly going to continue to be supportive of all that is Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon. I love this organization deeply. It is a part of my story in so many ways, and I will continue to stay involved in some way and just support for this organization and the greater mission that I think so many of us in this state are committed to bring healing in a time of great polarization, to be very bold in our efforts to address inequity with courage, with humility, with compassion, to listen to voices and life experience, and to together find a way forward, not in a phony kumbaya moment, but in a real acknowledgement that our differences need to be heard and we need to find a way to work together. Because uh, there are too many people suffering, and there is so much good work to be done together, and I believe we can do it together.
Yeah. You think, you've said this to me, I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about, you think EMO's in a good place right now, a stable place?
I would frankly not leave this role if I thought that we were not in a good place. I have never seen Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon more stable, more led by really talented, compassionate, gifted leaders throughout this organization. I am one of so many leaders in this organization who are so committed to this work and so capable of taking this to another level, a level that I'm not able to, but that next leader, I believe, will be able to take us to the next place, can see that, have that vision of the next 2 decades and where we need to go as we listen to one another and work together. So we are really poised to go to that next level, and I'm excited to see that happen.
Yeah, well, thanks for your excitement. And, on behalf of myself and the staff and the whole EMO family, thank you for your many years of service. You will be missed, and I hope that you know that, and I'm sure we'll have opportunities to celebrate you in the days ahead. But thank you for all your work, and I want to invite everybody watching to be in prayer for Jan and her family as this transition happens. And I trust that, as you said, God has something unique in store for you in this next season.
Thank you so much, Paul. And I do love this organization, and I love our all the supporters and the people out throughout the state who have made this organization what it is. It is a we, for sure. It's we. Thanks.